I was 7 months pregnant, barefoot on hot asphalt behind the pharmacy, digging through a ripped bag for cans, while my stomach talked louder than my pride. When the manager pointed like I was a stray and said I needed to move along before he called somebody, I bent too quick, 2 cans rolled. I swayed and nearly went down, and a hand caught my elbow, steady as a fence post. "She's fine," a calm voice said, not loud. "Just sure." I turned and saw a pearl silver pickup, clean boots, a boy peeking from the window, and the man crouched without flinching, picked up the cans like they mattered. "I got these," he said. The manager puffed up with policy, and the man didn't even look at him. "We're done here then," to me. "You all right?" And that was the first time anyone asked it like the answer mattered. I wanted to lie, say yes. But pride is a thin blanket, and it wasn't covering much. "Yesterday morning," I said when he asked if I'd eaten. He slid out his wallet, and I tensed, because I'd been offered money with strings before ugly strings. "No strings, ma'am," he said fast. Not how I was raised. The bills were warm from his pocket and felt like air in my lungs. The boy waved. "I'm Eli." The man tipped his cap, "Caleb," and just like that my day tilted. He saw my feet and said, "Let me get you home. This heat isn't a suggestion." And you know what I mean? Sometimes the way someone says a thing feels like shade on a July road. We rolled through town, quiet payday line outside the Lone Store. Cedar smoke from the barbecue place, the rooftop of the motel, where a man once promised me a future and couldn't find it. The next morning, Caleb didn't waste words. He asked real ones. "Doctor," he said. I shook my head. "Free. Clinic says next month unless I get there at 4 a.m. and pray." He nodded like a nail had been driven somewhere inside him. "Names?" He asked. "Noah and Rosie," I said. And saying their names always straightens my spine. We turned into Willow Court. Lot 11 door that swelled when it rained. 2 rooms, tarps on the roof. The kids came out barefoot, like they could smell me half a mile away. "Mama, you're back," Noah said with relief. Instead of hello, I held up the cash like a magic trick, and his shoulders dropped. Eli hopped down with a plastic triceratops and announced, very official, that everyone deserved at least 1 dinosaur. I laughed, and it tasted like water. After a long dry, Caleb took in the porch. The door, the kids not gawking, just measuring the distance between what is and what should be. Some folks get stuck on that distance. He looked like a man who builds bridges. "Tessa," he said. County Road 7. "We've needed someone steady to run the main house, meals, laundry, keeping it decent. There's a caretaker cottage empty since Miss Dot retired, 3 bedrooms. Real shower heat when it's cold on the books, with health insurance, kids, ride the bus to town, school, come see it. Decide for yourself." It sounded sweet enough to break a tooth. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you learned to ask that." He glanced at my kids, then at his boy. "Because no one should choose between bus fare and bread. Because folks gave me a hand when I didn't deserve it. Because a ranch works better like a town than a company." He paused. "And because Eli thinks your boy needs a dinosaur." "You don't know these people," my neighbor Trish called from her railing. "Arms crossed, favors come with interest." Caleb looked up. "I can have a contract on the table before the sun goes down. You're welcome to read it." "Reading won't fix everything," she said. "No," he answered. "But it keeps us honest, and somehow that shut the porch up." I said I'd look. He nodded, like that was all he wanted. He let me lock the door, like it mattered. Let Noah pick 2 toys, had a spare car seat in the back, because of course he did. The ranch didn't look like a postcard. It looked like work and kindness that had weathered a storm or two. Low white house, wide porch, fence lines straight, because somebody pulled string tight. The cottage sat off with a blue door and a clothesline whispering inside. Wasn't fancy. It was clean. The stove blinked the right time. The fridge hummed like a content cat. The bathroom had a shower that didn't cough and die when you turned the hot. I put my wrist under it and cried hard enough. I had to sit on the closed lid. Noah peered into the tub like it was a fair ride. "Can we stay?" he asked, hand on tile. I wanted to say yes right there, but I've been burned by yes before. Caleb introduced us to folks, Jack with hands like cracked leather and eyes like a soft dog, Rose who smelled faintly of cinnamon and said she pitched in twice a week, and Dr. Porter, who shook my hand like a teammate and said, "Prenatal, check tomorrow, no charge debates, not." Everyone smiled. A tall man in a sweat-dark cap looked me over like I was a bale. "He might reject, Hank," he grunted when Caleb said his name. "We hiring charity, now not quiet at all." I pretended I didn't hear Caleb did. "We're hiring staff," he said. "You got a problem, bring it to me." "Yes, boss," Hank smirked. You could tell he wasn't done, yeah. That happened. We packed what we owned, which fit in 2 bags, 1 busted suitcase, and a shoebox of papers came back before the sky turned peach. That first shower felt like church, that first night. I listened to my kids sleep and counted how many things didn't leak the days after weren't a fairy tale. Even good change shakes loose weak parts, week 1. I burned cornbread. So bad the alarm screamed. Hank laughed through the screen. "Smells like charity baked it." My face stayed hot. An hour 5 minutes later. Jack showed me how Miss Dot tilted the cast iron and pulled it when the edge lifted. "You'll get it," he said, like the weather week. 2, I sent beans on a Wednesday, which as every man in a hat informed me is stew day on a ranch run, right? Rose squeezed my arm. "Bless 'em, they'll live," she told the crew. The kitchen was available Saturday at 5 a.m. for volunteers, and suddenly, Wednesday beans weren't a crisis. Week 3, I walked into the school office with my chin up and our paperwork. Like armor, the secretary looked at my address and pursed her lips. "We're full in kindergarten," she said. Caleb stepped in behind me, tipped his cap. "Morning, Dottie. We're enrolling 2 kids on my payroll bus stop, same as it's been since '98. She brightened like a porch light. I bristled. He put a warm hand at my shoulder blade, "Not guiding, just standing with," I said. "Noah Carter, Ozzy. Carter will bring whatever else you need." Dottie blinked like she woke up and slid 2 forms across. "Sometimes it takes a name to open a door. I'm not proud of that, but I used it for my kids." Then the twist I should have seen coming walked up our road like he owned it. Darren heard we'd moved up and decided to collect whatever he thought was due. He smiled, that slick smile I used to mistake for love. "You finally found a way to make money with that hospitality," he said, low, ugly, and mean. I should have shrunk instead. I found a voice with muscles. "Turn around, Darren. There's nothing for you past this gate." He took a step, eyes on my belly. "Oh, there's a bill with my name on it." Caleb came out of the barn like he'd been expecting rain. "Afternoon. Can we help you?" Darren stuck out a hand. "I'm the father. Just came to visit. What's mine?" I hate that sentence. Caleb didn't take his hand. "We don't do what's mine, we do. Who's safe, you here to read on the porch after supper? Or you here to be loud and leave?" Darren sneered. "You, the man writing checks." "I write paychecks," Caleb said, "and checks to the sheriff if needed." Hank hovered at the fence like he'd bought tickets. Darren stepped close, hissed, "You think he doesn't want something?" And that old humiliation flickered like a match. "You know we'll burn," I steadied, looked him dead in the eye. "He wants supper on time, sheets that smell like sun, a 7 a.m. Staff meeting my kids, fed me, insured a house that's mine. As long as I keep my end, that's all." Darren laughed like a cough. "You playing house, same old Tess?" "No." I said loud enough for Hank, "I'm running one." Caleb didn't step between us. He stood beside me. There's a difference. Jack rolled up the side by side like a polite guard dog. You can visit Sunday in town with a judge's paper, Caleb said. Otherwise, all that's waiting here is dust. Darren spit near his boot and left. A month later, he filed a custody motion and sat on the courthouse steps telling a reporter, "I was being kept like a pet." That word made my hands shake. I went home, made stew big enough to feed a small army, and kept the lights low until my kids stopped listening for trouble. Yeah, that happened too. But here's the part that doesn't trend and still matters. I learned the kitchen like a map, which skillet turns eggs proud, and which sulks where Miss Dot tucked her spices. The big oven runs 5 degrees hot on the left. I wrote the crew's names on a chalkboard and tracked who takes their coffee muddy and who likes it like tea. The house began to hum. What? Fancy constant. Noah writes his name straight now and brought home a gold star he showed to Hank, who pretended not to choke up and called it adequate, which is ranch for perfect. Rosie polices hand washing before anyone touches the couch, and I have never loved a rule more, doctor. Porter delivered my baby in a thunderstorm and said, "Let's bring this girl into a world that doesn't apologize." We named her Grace Eli. Held her like the last dinosaur in the set. Hank softened in inches, brought me a busted toaster and asked if I knew anything about it. I didn't. We took it apart anyway. We figured it out after that when he said, "Ma'am, it sounded like a word, not a dare." We threw a party under the oaks when Grace turned 1 crockpots on tables, kids running like bees. I made cornbread that didn't burn, and Hank punished me with seconds. Folks asked me to say something, and I told the plain truth. I didn't get a rescue. I got a job and a key. Those are different. Caleb cleared his throat and said he used to think helping meant writing checks far enough away to stay dry. Turns out, you miss the rainbow that way, and your boots stay too clean. The county sent a letter later about taxes creeping on worker housing, and numbers like that climb like ivy. The bus driver retired, and the new one doesn't wave yet. Hank's nephew broke his wrist. Life kept being life messy and regular and worth every plate washed. So was Caleb right to pull over and bring a stranger's family onto land that keeps food on other tables? Did he cross a line or redraw one for the better? Was Hank wrong to doubt me until I proved I could run a house better than he could manage his temper, or was he saying out loud what everyone else mumbled? Does a man like Darren deserve another shot, with kids who had to teach themselves not to jump at door slams, or do we draw a line and say love without responsibility is just noise? I don't know all your answers. I know mine. I was the woman behind a pharmacy bag, and now I'm the household manager at Sagebrush Hollow. I rise like bread, steady with heat, made from simple things you can name if you made it this far. Tell me what you think. What was right? What was wrong? What you would have done at that gate, in that office, at that trash bag. Drop your story if you've ever been the one folks looked away from, or the one who pulled over. And if this felt honest, hit subscribe. Share it with someone who's sure they know what people like me look like. Then tell me in the comments how justice looks where you live. I'll be on the porch after supper reading every word.